Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. It's Tuesday and patch notes for patch 8.1 have been posted, and that means it's time for another patch note rundown. As always, I'll be going through the week's biggest changes and letting you guys know what you can be looking forward to in the coming months. Now, 9.1 is the first official patch of Season 9 and the first patch of the new year. As such, there are going to be a ton of brand new changes in this patch, so go ahead and make sure you pay attention, and definitely you're going to want to check out the patch notes for this patch. Now, 9.1, sorry, I should say, is mostly about buffing up champs who suffer in pro play and therefore naturally suffer in regular play because they're too strong professionally and not strong enough in regular play. So Riot are trying to convert some of them so they have more strengths in solo queue. Additionally, there are some small quality of life buffs to some marksmen and a few usability buffs to some unused items and runes. Let's go ahead and start with the champion changes, starting with Kalista. Riot are trying to shift her towards less team-dependent power so she can actually do something in solo queue without having to be completely dependent on her team for success. Her base attack damage growth, and attack speed growth have all been increased, but in addition, her W no longer grants her bonus attack damage while near her Oathsworn, so Kalista will feel a little bit more independent without having to be near her babysitter at all times. Additionally, her Q's base damage has been increased, and her E now deals only 50% damage to epic monsters, which significantly reduces Kalista's ability to secure objectives in the late game. I'm not sure if these changes will do anything to affect Kalista's strength in pro play. I think they just kind of are buffs to Kalista in pro play. She still has one of the best initiation ultimates in the game, but it does do something because at the very least she is a little bit weaker in her actually insane objective secure. Ornn has some pretty significant changes on this patch as well. Riot are trying to reduce Ornn's overbearing strengths in lane and make his passive a better reason to pick him as opposed to just picking Ornn for his incredible lane pressure and one of the best initiation ultimates in the game. Ornn's health growth, base health regen growth, armor growth, and base attack damage have all been increased. Additionally, Ornn's passive now grants him additional 10% armor and MR from items. At level 13 as well, any upgradable item that Ornn owns or purchases is now upgraded for free, and at each level after level 14, Ornn can upgrade one of his allies' upgradable items while he's near them. Riot have also included a few new upgradable items to Ornn's repertoire, including Youmuu's Ghostblade, Blade of the Rune King, and Luden's Echo, so there are a few more things he can do for his friends. That's the passive changes. Ornn's base kit has also been significantly adjusted. His Q's mana cost has been reduced, and the base damage has been reduced at later ranks, and the slow is now a flat 40% when it used to scale up with rank. Ornn's W no longer shields him, but now makes him unstoppable. The cooldown has been decreased as well. Ornn's E mana cost now scales with rank. It's lower early on, which is just a buff to Ornn's early game. And his R's first cast slow now scales based on the distance traveled, so immediate ultimates won't do as much to Ornn's victims. And enemies after the first who are knocked up by Ornn's ultimate are knocked up for less time, so tanks can kind of body block Ornn. What all of these changes mean is that Ornn now has less baseline durability than a lot of tanks because he doesn't have any spell on his kit that makes him slightly more durable. So if you think about champions like Malphite or Maokai who have innate shields or heals to make them tanky in fights, Ornn has none of that now. However, he is a gold accelerated champion now. Once he hits level 13, he just straight gets more from his items than other champions do because they all get upgraded for free, and he just in general gets more from the items he builds because of that additional 10% armor and MR. What this means is Ornn will be incredibly scary late game and a hyper-scaling tank, if that makes any sense, but it means that Ornn is going to be significantly weaker in the early game and will need a lot more time to hit those scaling points. Sejuani is being changed on this patch as well. Riot are reducing Sejuani's crowd control to give her more damage. I am not quite sure why they thought that was a good idea for a tank, but here we are. Sejuani has at least retained a little bit of base durability. Her passive has now grants significantly fewer resistances than before, but lingers longer. And in addition to that, Sejuani's base MR, and base attack damage and armor have all been increased a little bit in order to make her not feel the results of that as worse. So this should give Sejuani a little bit more default durability without having to worry so much about it in the later stages of the game. Sejuani's Q's base damage has been increased, and her W's second hit base damage has also been increased. On top of that, her E's stun duration and range have been reduced, in addition for more damage. I don't really know how these changes are going to make Sejuani play. She will definitely feel a little bit better durability when she doesn't have Frost Armor available, which I think is a good change, but the increased damage across the board in exchange for less CC, I don't know how I feel about that, and I don't really know how it's going to help Sejuani. Moving on to slightly smaller changes. Jinx is getting a small quality of life buff in this patch. Zap's cast time now scales with attack speed in order to help her feel more fluid in later stages of the game. It caps at 250% attack speed, but also factors in Get Excited's movement speed bonuses, meaning that Jinx will be able to get off zaps a lot faster in the later game now and should help her feel a little bit more fluid in late game team fights. Katarina has a small quality of life buff as well. Her Shunpo now teleports her immediately upon pressing E and applies the cast time at the end of the ability instead, so it should help Katarina immediately get on target she wants to be on top of, instead of making her wait a little bit before she can actually teleport. Nasus has a quality of life buff as well, right, are increasing the benefits Nasus gains from farming large enemies. He now gains 12 stacks on his Q per champion, large minion, or large monster kill, up from 6, which means that Nasuses that are able to get large monsters or cannon minion last hits with their Q will be significantly better off in the late game as compared to currently on live. Sivir is getting a small buff as well. Q no longer has any fall-off damage for hitting champions. This is just a buff targeted at making Sivir a little bit stronger in those later game team fights without buffing up her wave clear substantially. And finally, Vayne is receiving a buff to Final Hour. It now reduces Tumble's cooldown by 50% while it is active. Now, note that Tumble's cooldown does not start until Vayne has used the empowered auto attack. This means that if Vayne tumbles and sits on that auto attack, she will not benefit at all from the decreased CD on Tumble. However, if she is constantly proccing it, she will be very, very hard to hit in later game team fights. This is a pretty monster buff to Vayne, and I would not hesitate to say we're going to see a lot more Vayne because of it. Finally, a few smaller changes that Riot have added to the game. A new version of the Monster Hunter passive on jungle items has been introduced to the game. Riot haven't been able to add quite enough in order to really make funneling go away when they remove Monster Hunter's change at the beginning of the patch, so they have adjusted that as well, so that there is a slight version of it back in order to combat funneling. And in addition, Hail of Blades now grants significantly more attack speed at early levels, and auto attack reset abilities don't consume a stack. This is actually a pretty big buff to Hail of Blades. I still don't know if it's going to be enough for a lot of champions to consider using it, but it definitely is a fairly substantial buff to the rune, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more champions at least trying it out, if not swapping over to it. Anyways, those are all the biggest changes on patch 9.1. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on which changes you think are going to be most impactful down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and leave a like. And if you really enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days like today as well. And if you're looking for Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, link down in the description. I upload an article just about each and every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.